guys. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Old Cove Writers Room. Very
Hi,
excited to be here.
Hi, Bernardo. You're an award-winning podcast now. Don't do that.
We are.
Got to have a little White Lotus touch to your day, and it's not fulfilled until
I
then.
was wondering who took home the actual. I was like, I wonder if Betty Jean or Michelle somehow snuck it into their stuff.
Oh, they tried. Don't get me wrong. They tried. I see you.
But Scott, please continue on with your beautiful intro.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Well, we're excited. Today we are going to be diving into the soundscape of Old Cove with someone whose work you've definitely heard, even if you don't realize it. He's one of the editors behind the show's immersive world, and just took home, as we were discussing, the LA Webfest Award for Best Sound Design. Woo! So we're going to be talking about his creative process, art of building emotion through sound, and what it takes to bring the drama of Old Cove to life from the audio booth. So let's get into it. Come on, gentlemen. Let's welcome J Lee Glassburn.
Woo! Hi, J Lee. How are
Nice
you?
to be here. Thank you. I'm good. Very well.
Congrats. Your statues are on the way, by the way. I think I texted you both yesterday about that, but they're on the way. So they shipped.
J Lee, I'm happy to see you moved from the library to your living room now.
Yeah, it's,
That's the kind of house you can
Moving
have.
around the house because the Wi-Fi is better in other rooms. I get it.
yes.
That's the kind of house you have when you're an award-winning podcast.
Award-winning editor. Yes.
That could be you too, out there, listeners.
See, you could have a baby grand, or no, it's not even a baby grand. That's a real grand.
Oh, that's not a baby grand.
How dare you?
How dare!
How dare you, kind sir? not even kind about it.
No, not one touch.
So we got to talk about this award. So I think I know we've talked about it. I said a million times over, we were nominated for LA Webfest for 3 awards. We were nominated for Best Overall Audio Drama. We were nominated for Best Director, and we were nominated for Best Sound Design. And, love that we're in all 3 categories, but I got to tell you, the one I really wanted was sound design, because the episode that we entered for the submission, the one that we submitted, was just one of my favorites, I think, that we've done in the 2 seasons that we've done. So I want to know, J Lee, what was your reaction to winning that award?
Well,
because I'm the one that did all the talking.
Real quick, though, what episode? So our viewers know, what episode did we enter?
The season 2 finale.
Okay.
At Club 87, what featured, I think, every member of the cast. Is that correct?
It did, yeah.
And a surprise guest.
There was from the crossover television show. Sorry, crossover audio drama.
Tomorrow's a new day.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We finish each other's sandwiches, so
That's what we do here.
That drink is kind of strong already.
Not yet, but it's about to be.
Nice.
You came prepared with the picture.
It's Friday, baby. It's Friday.
Only Rick has the picture ready. I love that. But yeah, J Lee, what was your reaction since
The
Rick
winning?
did all the talking?
I was genuinely, when I saw the list of how many people we were up against, how many other projects we were up against, I thought, it's great to be nominated, and it's, like maybe next year. and I went and listened to some of them, and, seeing like how big of a production some of these are. I really did. I was really surprised that we took it home. I think we earned it. I think we worked, very hard on that, and pulled out all the stops. But I really thought that I was very surprised that we won, and humbly accept that award. But yeah, it was surprising. It was really surprising. So
I love that.
So I will say, I want to tell a little story, because I didn't really, I was in such a mind space on stage that all I could do was curse. And so if you see any video of me doing the speech, half of it is like bleeped out because it's just all me cursing about the best goddamn team and the best fucking da-da-da. And it was just.
And that's why you see none of our videos of us doing it anywhere online.
That's why I'm not allowed to talk. But I do want to tell a little story about that. And the story is that, you know, we joke about it. I had this idea about the episode when we went to write it. And I said, I want to do this big thing where everybody in town is at this social event, you know, and we're at this club. And I was like, if I were filming it in person, this is what I want. I want to set a camera in the middle of this club, and I want the camera to do a complete 360 in one continuous take around the room. And I want it to pick up all these little different moments, these little vignettes around the room. But how do we do that without a camera and make it feel the same audio-wise? And, you know, I know that Aaron and Scott and everybody was like, oh, God, here he goes. Pigeon is like, no. And like, it's just hard. And then J Lee was like, oh, he's fucking crazy. But he's like, let's do it. And he dove right in. And I absolutely love that and figured it out. And J Lee, I have to say, to sing your praises, because you did that, but you took Jules the Lion graciously gave us donated music to us for this episode. And you took his music and you created these, and they recognize this, you created these moments in between those vignettes that all I can say is it just swirled into like each moment and vignette. And it was great, you know. So for me, sitting over in the corner and saying, but I wanted to go whoosh, and then he's like, okay, how do I do that? So it was great. So thank you. And I thought it was fucking fantastic. I'm cursing again. All right, so here we go.
I think
It's on brand.
I think that episode, like, we had been trading off episodes, of which, you know, I think you were editing the odd numbered episodes and I was editing the even numbers. And that was the first one where we were like, we got to sit down together and kind of like figure out how to do this. And then we, you know, we might get into this, but we then sometime later had to put together a trailer for the podcast. And that was kind of the second time that we sat down together. And it was, I feel like it was, there were several moments in both of those sessions where we would say, here's what I want it to do, or here's what I think we should do with this. And it was like, oh, that's exactly what I was thinking too. I think that Rick and I working together, it's like we're speaking the same language. And that's not always the case when you get two people sitting, you know, two people in one computer.
Well, I think we had 3 computers and 2 crashed, if I'm remembering correctly.
Oh, wow.
We did have some problems.
It was quite the dramatic moment. So,
and I know how Rick can be with his notes. So no, I'm just playing.
You're not wrong though.
His notes are always really great though. Like I can't. Anytime he gives a note, I'm like, oh, fine, yes, that makes sense. It does look better. Damn it. You know, just like, okay, Rick.
Sorry. But
The best.
it was really easy and simpatico to sort of work together on this, but like with the 2 pieces, like you said, not only this episode but also the trailer as well, because we're gonna cue it up in 3, 2. That trailer that you just watched.
I was literally like thinking, am I supposed to cue something up?
No, I'm gonna put it in the, or J Lee's gonna put it in the edit. Sorry.
Yeah,
We should make J Lee edit this episode.
he should edit his own episode, absolutely. Yeah.
Sometimes that's the worst, bro.
He's award winning, so he should really
That's
do it
right.
on them.
It
So,
comes with the territory now, man.
One thought I had though is, okay, yeah, we didn't win best podcast, but if there's an award to win, best sound design, I mean, come on, a podcast is all sound.
Podcast is all sound.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So to me, it's almost like we won best podcast.
yeah.
Yep.
It's like on par with cinematography, you know, like it's the whole mise en scène, you captured it. And I've never shared this with the group. My partner, he's a little hard of hearing in one ear. And he said just your editing on the episodes just immerses him deeper into that world. He doesn't feel like he's listening to an audiobook. He feels like he's in the room with these characters. And that's all on the sound design.
Oh, I love that.
Thanks.
Tell Sam I said thank you, and we
Will
love
do.
it for that.
Will do.
I do also want to mention, like, no money goes into this. So the amount of time J Lee and Rick and even Scott and even the actors put into it, like, oh my God, like, thank you, because it's not easy.
Yeah, we know, Aaron, we know. There's no money. We know.
We were up against probably had a budget or had multiple sound designers. So for us to get there just speaks to his talent, Rick's talent, the writer and actor's talent.
Absolutely.
But J Lee, you've been an editor for a while, and I've seen your work. And when I approached you about this, I was like, I feel like it's podcasting, it's audio drama. I've seen what you do, like with visuals and all of that. Is this something you'd be interested in doing? And completely grateful that you said yes. But now that you've won this award, I have to ask, what does this recognition? What does this recognition mean to you, professionally and personally?
It means a great deal to me. I've had professors and whatnot in the past, and I firmly believe this. Audio is at least half of a movie or a television show or something like that. It's all you have to think about just your own experiences, whether it's watching a YouTube video or a television show or a student film. If they mess up, I mean, we'll watch a student film on 8mm and it'll be all grainy and crappy looking and, black and white. We're like, as long as the story's good, this and that. But bad audio is unforgivable, So, I think this is clearly skills that can be, transferred over to a video world. And so I don't feel like this has been kind of a departure in any way or, oh, this is just an audio award. I don't feel that way at all. Yeah, it's audio is kind of where it's at. It's what sells even a visual medium.
Did you approach the work you did on Old Cove being strictly an audio drama differently than you would for something more visual?
Oh, that's a great question.
I guess because you're relying only on the audio, like that's the only thing you have to move to paint the picture, to build the scene, which can be incredibly freeing, like you don't have to build sets or go on location or anything like that, like we want to do something.
I want to build a set. Oh, sorry.
We want to do something in Midnight Dawn's compound, like we can easily do that. We want to do
Not
something.
Anymore. We burned it down.
That's true. But wherever the story takes us, we can go there. And so I think just kind of focusing on building that world audibly. Yeah, that's.
So I'm kind of curious then, to that point, what do you think is was there a challenging episode for you? And why was it the season finale of season 2?
I think what happens in the bathroom in season 2 was very challenging because we can talk about that. It's out there, right?
Yes,
it's this kind of supernatural thing that's happening, but then the listener also knows that it's not. So, but the character thinks it's supernatural. So we had to kind of walk that line of like, how can we sell kind of both of those ideas? And that was very challenging and very fun.
And I love that you brought that up, because I love where you ended up at that moment, because that is not something that he and I did in the room together. He went home at like 2 a.m. and was like, and showed up a week later with that. So, but we were talking about it. It was like, this is kind of happening in her mind, and how do we make this happen? How do we make it clear that this is not real life? and you came back with something that just fucking worked. Sorry, I'm doing it again. It friggin' worked across the board. It just was really, really great.
Rick, please, we are a podcast that cusses.
It was fucking great. All right, I'm just gonna say it.
The world we live in today, we deserve to.
And we have the best fucking cast in the entire fucking world.
Woo!
I'm like Goldie Hawn. I'm an actress. I have all of them.
All the feeling. So, is this your first like soap opera to work on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this will be the first time I've done a soap opera.
Soap acting is very always over the top, even if it's prime time, like what we're going for. So, how did you lean into that?
What was your reaction to it? I want to know. What was the first reading you heard? Like the first audio reading? Like, oh my God, what is happening here? Like between Harper and Quentin, especially those two. Trust.
I mean, I loved it. I absolutely thought it was fantastic, particularly Harper and Quentin. Probably, anytime either one of them are in a scene, that is gold. I think one of the earliest scenes I ever edited for the show for Old Cove was when Oliver, he thinks he's about to get a promotion.
Yes. I thought that might be what this was. Yeah.
And so the scene was him coming back to
Beverly from HR is the name of the episode.
Coming back to Quentin, and he's got to kind of break the news. But Quentin has also gotten a promotion. He's in this, his own world, and of course, Quentin is all about Quentin. And so to take that and I can't remember if that was recorded, the two of them at the same time, or because sometimes we'll record like one actor and then in another session record the other actor.
Probably recorded together because Old Cove is really good about like
trying to get everybody together as much as possible.
Because we have some cast members who are just like, I want to record with them, and they will make it happen because they love being able to play. And Scott and George are especially where it's like, no, we can't do this without the other.
Yeah. One will not record without the other. And it's the same way on Tomorrow's a New Day with James and I. I refuse to do any scene without James. Like if James is not available till October, you're only going to get me in October.
So that makes me think of a question that wasn't on our list of a pre-approved Rick questions.
You made me sound so awful, I swear.
When George...
But can you text me the question before you ask it?
No.
I'm kidding.
George and Scott and James and Rick are very much... They stick to the theme of the script, but the lines can change. So when you're looking for the best one, when every take is good, because that's a problem I have with James and Rick. I'm just like, why did you have to do it better? Like, how do you pick? Or do you let Rick decide? And
I do defer to Rick quite a bit. Like, which one did he say he liked in that as they were recording? But I also, just kind of looking for the best take, and I guess what plays. I mean, a lot of times, with George's ad-libbing and whatnot, it's which one just made me laugh more.
And those are the decisions that I make. It's like, which one actually made me laugh the hardest in this? So that's what I go for every time.
It's the same way. Lauren and Chantal are really good at screaming. And I'm like, which one made me feel something? So I'll be like listening to just screaming repeatedly for what feels like forever. Just like, okay, that's the one.
So what I want to talk a little bit about is sound design. Like the sound design around not just performance. So you've got the performance, you've got the stuff where, you've got the best take from Harper, you've got the best take from Quentin. They're making us laugh and all of that. But there's a lot of stuff happening around that. And I'm going to go back to the season 2 finale episode and the final scene between Harper and Quentin in the plane. So in that plane, there's this back and forth. I mean, I swear, we need to make a T-shirt, Aaron. Like, I mean about the plane, you stupid slut. Which is the best line, I think, to date out of the entire 2 seasons. But there's like all of that aside, you've got to add in all this extra stuff because they're in a plane that's going down, right? So I want to talk about building that sound design and sort of like what excites you about it, because that's my favorite part of filmmaking across the board, whether it's video, whether it's audio or whatever, is building that, because sound, like you said, sound is 60% of it for me, probably even more than that, even more than the visual, and just being able to sort of be immersed into that situation.
Oh yeah. I mean, and to that, like you can, a lot of times there'll be something comedic that happened, or like played for comedy in a movie, and it'll be a sound effect off site, off camera, and so yeah, like sound can kind of be an element in it's not just the sounds of what you see in a visual medium. Working with just sound in like an audio drama, I think you've got to start paying close attention to just the world around you as it happens. Like one of the things in that scene where we're going from the vignette to a vignette, and I'm sorry, the Club 87 scene, and then the bathroom afterward, I was thinking about things like, well, what does the music sound like in a club when I go into the bathroom and the door closes behind me? So it's not just the sound effect of the door opening and closing, but now the music sounds different, and things like that, I think really help to immerse you into whatever environment it is. The plane, the constant engine noise, that sort of thing. And
the trailer I'm going to bring up real quick, because you and I had a really interesting and kind of long conversation about the button on the trailer, which brings up Olivia and
Ellie.
Olivia and Ellie, brings up Olivia and Ellie, and the gun moment in the trailer. And there's just so many things that we talked about in terms of what's happening underneath and where that moment came from in the episode, and layering in being in a car and all of the stuff that was sort of happening. So you were layering in all these different effects that were happening there.
I'll say too, from a writing standpoint, I knew as a team, we always knew somehow, some way, season 2 was going to end with Harper and Quentin on a plane. And so that was always in the back of our mind. But then, Rick had this amazing pitch for the party at Club 87. And I started to work on the plane, and I almost wanted to, I was like, maybe I should try to make this easier. And then I was like, no, it's going to be storming. It's going to be storming while this plane is going down. It's going to, but as a writer, I'll say it's so exciting to just kind of be like, well, I'll put this in the script. Whether or not it happens is fine. But the fact that you bring everything that we write pretty much to life and then some, this is more of a comment than it is a question. I just really commend that.
There's a moment in that final scene where it is probably one of my most favorite deliveries from Quentin. And because there's a certain uneasiness and nervousness in your voice that you came across, and you did like 4 or 5 takes of this. I remember we went through this whole scene, and it's a long scene, and we went through it a few times, but there's one take where you just delivered this line so nervously, and you're like, and there goes our pilot, and then he gets struck by lightning, and it's this like, I was like, I wasn't gonna do that lightning crack or whatever, so it had to be really subtle, kind of like a little thunder crack or something, but there's this nervousness that you do in your voice that I just absolutely fell in love with, and I was like, I have to make this work. This is the one, because it was, for me, it was a different insight into Quentin that we had not seen before. Quentin has this bravado. He has this, it's like you said earlier, J Lee, it's all about Quentin, and Quentin's going to make sure Quentin's okay first. And there was this moment in that finale where Quentin's not so sure he's going to be okay. And it was very much there, and I absolutely loved it. And I really didn't want to kill that moment with sound design, with thunder and lightning and all of that stuff. So I kind of really wanted to downplay that thunder crash that happened when the pilot was escaping the plane and got struck down by lightning. So it was more about what you were doing in the performance and less about what was happening in the sky.
Mhm.
So when you sit down to kind of do you approach each scene that you're editing, J Lee, in the same? Do you sort of have the same workflow, or do you approach each scene based on the scene?
I think I kind of stick to pretty much the same workflow. I think, it's everything's kind of in service to the performance. That's where the story is going to come through. That's where it's all going to, really shine. So that's the first thing that I do is I put together the performance, and then I start working on, what kind of sound effects might need to be in here. Yeah. Sound effects or music. We might have done that Club 87 scene a little bit differently. I can't remember now because the music featured so heavily in getting from one point to the next. I think maybe we're doing them at the same time. Like we do some music and then go into the vignette, bring back up the music, and then
because I know we were very intentional and specific about. So again, I'm gonna throw credit to Jules the Lion for giving us the music and such great music to work with, and it fit perfectly with the vibe of Club 87 and what we were doing with the night and all of that. But I think we were being very intentional about the music being just as important as what was happening in the scene, because I didn't want the music to be secondary, because I wanted to kind of lift the music up a little bit too. And that's the worst thing that J Lee could ever hear from me is like, well, you can't just make the music disappear. And so he's like, well, fuck you, how do I do this? And he delivered across the board. So
100%. The sound design really does become almost a character in and of itself when you're listening to audio drama.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Your contribution. You are a character. Well, you are a character, but you're also a character. For the viewers, J Lee also voices Gideon Frost's head henchman, Hutchins.
Right.
Hutchins is number one guy.
Mm-hmm.
So this doesn't really. Oh.
I would say Hutchins, who has not a foot fetish, but a fetish for footwear.
Footwear.
I was about to say he has a thing for Crocs, but it's a little kind of crazy. I love it.
Well, what is your favorite part? Whether it's Hutchins or editing, what is your favorite part about working on Old Cove?
It's working with me, of course.
Aaron, mute Rick.
That's all of our favorite parts.
Oh, shut up, all of you.
And that's why I get up in the morning. I don't know if J Lee has the same reason, but I wake up thinking, oh, what does Rick want from me today? Please.
Rick wants 5 more of these, goddammit.
Don't forget the time you sit down at the Rick altar to say some prayers, light some candles.
Right. This is the Rick altar, by the way.
That lorazepam.
It's getting me in trouble at work.
Where's my lorazepam? Has anyone seen my lorazepam?
Rick stole it and took them all.
I think, like you say, that being kind of a character, like Hutchins is fun to play, but I do kind of feel like a character in every scene. I was saying earlier, this scene with Quentin and Oliver, one of the first ones that I edited for Old Cove, that was recorded in a way where it was each line was very clean, but I felt like to really sell like Quentin's self-centeredness, he needed to be stepping on everyone, kind of like he's not even really listening. So I was able to kind of like pull that back and overlap those lines a bit, and when it needed it, and then at other times it was like, oh, this should have a little more breathing room, like it's sinking into Quentin, or he's distracted by something else or something, whatever happens in that scene. So in that way, I do kind of feel like I'm a bit of a character in every scene, and that's absolutely a blast to me.
You also have a part in creation. Like you're like the writers. You're a part of every scene, every moment. Like so.
And I will say too, to your point, J Lee, one of the things that I learned from you that you taught me, and this was really in sort of listening back to the things that you were editing, because I come from this place. I worked in animation for 100 fucking years, and so I was in this place where one line can't step on the other, right? Everything's going to be clean, 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 and you didn't do that. And when I heard that in the first edit that you sent me, I was like, I love this. I love everything about it, and it really changed how I edited and how, as J Lee said, we alternated episodes, and it really changed how, where are they coming in on this scene? Are they going to step on, like, I don't care what you say. And there were moments where people would step on each other, or there were moments where there was a little more of an elongated pause. And that to me really stood out to me. It really made a difference in how I work. So I want to say thank you for that.
And those pauses, like, this is one of the things that I absolutely love about editing, whether it's sound or visual, is sometimes nothing is very loud, and in something like an audio drama, like, the listener has to kind of put it, like, why aren't they, you don't get to see the actor, like, but you might hear that sound, or it might just be, you're waiting, why are they silent right now? And then when they start their performance on that whatever line it is, like, then you finally get to fill in that piece of the puzzle.
I like to think too what y'all are doing with the sound design on this show, because I don't have anything to do with the editing on Old Cove. That is all J Lee and Rick. I can't take any true credit. I've been trying to take what I've learned from what you both do and apply it to Tomorrow's a New Day with sound cues and not overdoing certain things. I've been trying to amplify that side of town too. Not so we sound the same, but just...
Well, I think we had a lot of fun with this scene from Tomorrow's New Day featuring one of your characters. And a lot of that inspiration came from J Lee and stuff that he kind of really went out there and did in a lot of episodes for season 2 for Old Cove. And I took, I edited this scene with something that happens to your character. And I was like, what would J Lee do? I was like, oh, he would do this here. He would do this. He would absolutely do this here. So
I want a WWJLED.
What would they? What WWJLWD? Yes.
No, I like the Lee in there. WWJLED.
I like it.
People will try to figure out what the LEE is. Like, what does the LEE stand for? That's what makes it.
Always keep them guessing. Yes.
So, do you have any favorite characters or storylines that you especially...
And it can't be yours.
And it can't be your character.
Oh gosh, no, I don't have a favorite. Quentin and
You're
Harper.
better than we are, because we all have favorites.
I love the way Quentin and Harper go at each other, or even, their personalities apart from one another. Ellie and
Olivia,
like, what a pair, because like they sound, it's like, I think you've talked about this in the writers' room, the previous episodes, like, how did these two get together, because they sound so wildly different. And what's crazy about those two is they're that way in real life too,
in person. At LA Webfest.
I was about to ask about that. Like,
I could not have, like, it was the LA Webfest was the first time they'd ever met up in person together, and the two of them were like two peas in a pod. There was
lifelong friends, like they knew each other from elementary school.
Exactly. It just, I couldn't have written anything better than that. It was just so beautiful to see. They just glommed onto one another and had each other's back through all of it, supported each other. How, like, so here's where I struggle. Is like, I want to call them by their character name, but I also want to call them by their real name. And that's why I'm struggling. Like, so Betty Jean was always with Michelle, like giving her moment, because Michelle needed her moment. And then Michelle wanted Betty Jean to have an equal moment, which is what I loved. And Betty Jean was not always down for that, because she was very nervous. So it was, oh, what happened? We lost someone. Oh,
that was very fast.
Gotta go right now.
That was, I didn't know I did not know my computer was unplugged, and I got down to 9%.
Oh,
So
well,
that's
there you
what
go.
that was.
But yeah, I agree. Seeing
Yeah.
them together in person could not have made my heart any bigger for the two of them. It's just
I completely
so great.
agree.
That-
I think it's. Oh, go ahead, Aaron.
I was just going to say that just shows it doesn't matter if it's audio, visual, or what. Chemistry cannot be faked.
Mhm.
That's precisely more or less what I was going to add on to that this cast and this crew. There's never been any drama behind the scenes. We would make a horrible documentary if we ever, because we'd just be boring. We have fun, so that part is fun. But in terms of we leave the drama for the viewers and the listeners, and we get along so great. And then to have that come together for LA Webfest and so many of us. We wish everyone could be there, but for those who were able to make it, Aaron.
Damn, that
it was
inflation.
beautiful. But no, it's really good to see that symbiotic. And it's cool to know that you two as editors, and it comes through. It comes through in the final product.
And while we're talking about the cast, I mentioned this, Aaron, you weren't there, but anybody else who might be listening, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Who wasn't there? Aaron wasn't there? Oh.
I'm going to get a shirt that says Aaron wasn't there, but we still won.
When we were putting together,
I'm going to put this on a chain.
You should send that to that girl that does those Caroline videos with make that a cross for her to use. Like,
I love it.
No.
But anyway, go ahead, Julie. Sorry.
When we were putting together the trailer and I saw that for the first time, that still image at the end with the cast, the picture of them all, what do you call that?
Collaged, yeah.
Collage. I keep wanting to say kaleidoscope, but collaged together. And all of
we are a cast of many color, like everyone's personality is so many different colors. Like we all sparkle and shine.
That's true. That is true. But seeing that all of them there together really kind of brought it home, like how many people, and that was just the cast.
The primaries, not even the secondaries.
Oh,
right?
That's true. Yeah. Right.
Like you and me and, the rest of the secondary of us, the ones who have a line every 7 or 8 episodes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Not even the characters on the other side of town.
There you go. Yeah. But I was just amazed at how much work everyone has been putting into this, and and to make it a priority, for them not to say, oh, I can't this, I mean, I'm sure there's some of that, I can't this week, I can't, but everyone, I mean, the fact that Betty Jean and Michelle came out here to Webfest, it speaks volumes of how amazing of the people behind this. And I'm patting myself on the back a little bit too, but but everyone from the writing to the acting to the editing, everything is just been amazing.
Michelle came the farthest from New York.
She did come the furthest. I will say though, to that point, J Lee, I agree. We as producers are very mindful of the fact that we're not a funded podcast, so we're all sort of doing this. I hate to use this word because it's so bad, but we're volunteering our time basically to all of this. But also we as producers have always been super mindful about what commitment are we asking for from people. And so that's why we always try to limit as much time as we can with recording and with editing and with all of this stuff. How can we limit your commitment to this? Because as of right now, we are not funded. Maybe we might be in the future, but that's a conversation we're not prepared to have. But as of right now, we are not funded. And so I have been, Aaron will tell you, we've had many conversations about, I'm not going to ask everybody to do, I'm not going to ask someone to do this. I'm not going to ask someone to do that, because it's a commitment thing, right? It's like, I'm just, no one's getting paid for this. So I want to limit the amount of commitment to it.
There's been many times I have reworked a scene just so I didn't have to re-record with someone that I knew had a busy schedule.
There's been times Aaron's fought me. We're like, I'm not, we're going to rework the scene. No. I'm like, okay, fine, whatever.
Well, I know you said volunteer. I kind of think of it as a global community theater.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I love that.
Because we're coming from all over the world, and we love doing something like this. It'd be the same with community theater. So the arts are not expanding in today's world. So we're just making it a little bit easier for people to get some art.
Absolutely.
Or create some art, because I think this has opened a world to Betty Jean. Like she's now she wants to continue her voice acting and everything, and I love it. Because I bet 10 years ago, Betty Jean would not have ever thought she'd be looking for voice acting classes so that she could work on her craft.
Well, and she talked to us about this while she was here. I think, Scott, you might have been there, but she had told us that in her growing up, she never thought, like, she grew up with soap operas, but she never thought she'd ever be on a soap opera. And then being on Old Cove kind of changed that for her. And then as she got older, she was like, there's no world in which I'm ever going to walk a red carpet. And then coming to Webfest and having a red carpet changed that for her. And I get like, and to me, that gave me chills. I thought that was really kind of special, because I like, for her to be able to have that moment, to me, was super special. So I was glad that she could do it.
And then it warms my heart, because I always was told I wouldn't be able to do things like this. But this
I was just kidding.
This little gay boy from Arkansas is bringing people from all around the world together. I mean, that's pretty amazing in my opinion.
I agree with that. Absolutely. And what's great too is that, I hope that we are reaching listeners and inspiring them to go out and create as well. You don't have to do this, grinding hustle to get to the point to actually create this art. You can just make it now. And I think that's a great takeaway as well. And that's what you created here, Aaron. And that's what we're all working on. And we wouldn't be here if not for that. But on that, J Lee, I was wondering what is your sort of go-to advice that you would provide for aspiring audio editors, sound designers, etc.?
Take whatever you can, like you want to be a film editor, but you're getting a podcast or something.
Work.
Like do it, because it's work is work, and you're gonna be honing your skills, and then pay attention, whether you're taking a class to learn more about editing, or just in your day-to-day life, kind of think, you're sitting somewhere and people like to go to the mall or whatever. I'm dating myself. Do malls still exist? People still go to malls?
They do, but they're dentist office now. They're dentist office and chiropractors, but yes.
You go to a public place and you look at people, like, think about, like, how would I edit this? Like, what would I listen? I'm hearing birds because I'm outside, or that sort of, just those kind of little world building things, I think.
Well, and getting involved in projects like this, you get to put that, if it's someone just starting out from college or something, you get to put that on your resume.
Mm-hmm.
And you're having,
especially when Aaron updates the IMDb credits.
It is hard. Like, they do not make it easy. You have to go through a process. If you don't check this, if you don't check that,
This is a note to Kelsey on tomorrow's New Days.
Hi, Kelsey.
Hi, Kelsey.
Look at it, girl.
It's been a little updated. Thank you very much.
It's all good.
Michelle's name has been updated correctly.
All right. Well, to that end, J Lee, what kind of little spin out would you give us to wrap up this episode? I'm going to throw that out to you. So when I edit this together, you're going to send me a little sound design, little, and we could maybe use Jules the Lion. And
what was that again, Rick? Can you describe that again?
I don't know that I could do that a second time. Sorry. I'll edit it in. I'll edit it that way.
Make sure it's that noise Rick made that actually takes us out too.
All right. The gauntlet has been laid. It's up to you, J Lee. You're going to edit this episode. Did we not tell you that in the beginning? I think we did. Yes.
So this is the final, the call to action. Like, go.
This is goodbye, darling. This is goodbye, darling. Thank you. Thank you so much.
This is our Jerry Springer final thoughts.
Yeah. or a moment of Zen.
Yes.
Yeah, just go
You know
check
how-
out Old Cove anywhere
actually-
you can give a podcast.
What's that?
Let's go check out Old Cove wherever you can get podcasts.
No, there you go.
Very
Actually,
nice.
I think we should wrap this up by saying how we all met.
Oh,
So
Okay.
why don't we start with you, J Lee? How you and I met, and then
Oh my
you met
God.
everybody else.
How far back should I go?
Only the 1972.
Okay.
Claim anything before that.
I got a job. I was desperate for work years and years ago. This is more than 10 years ago. I got a job at a bakery, and
Oh, I forgot about that.
through a friend, and who, I don't know how he got the job, but he pulled me into the work too. It was a temporary. It was seasonal work. It was for Christmas. But through that, I met Jake
And the Queer Magnolias crowd.
Yeah. So I met Jake. He was my boss, and eventually through Jake, I met George, who they were together. They were an item at the time, and then the two of them, along with Rick and Dan, had the
Thanksgiving.
podcast.
Was it Thanksgiving that you came over? I think?
Well, I think what started it was they came into work and they were like, "We're doing this podcast. It's all about growing up gay in the South." And I was like, "I'm neither of those things. I'm,
I didn't
heterosexual
grow up
northerner."
gay or in the
but-
South, but I'm down. Yeah.
But like I like to support my friends and the things that they're doing, and so I promoted the hell out of it. And I think Rick was kind of like, "Who the hell is this guy who's like our number one
Why
fan?"
are you in my house? Like, why are you here?
And so I got invited to a Thanksgiving dinner. I think that was like right after COVID, 2020.
oh wow.
Yeah.
So it was very small, intimate, and then I was like, "Hey, these guys are cool. I like them." And then
We hit it
Aaron
off.
and Scott
like,
through this. So that's what brought me into this orbit.
So, Aaron, how did you and I meet?
We met through RIP Twitter.
Right. Twitter days.
I know I had been searching for, just looking for all kinds of queer content, and saw Queer Magnolias, and it made me think of Still Magnolias. And then
Which
I
was by
saw
design. Which was by design.
Which
It is our
one's
namesake.
by-
It is our
growing up,
namesake.
growing up gay in the South. I was like, oh, I'm curious. So and then Rick and I just started commenting back and forth. And then he joined the podcast. Then we created this and met Scott because, once again, George.
Mhm.
So George, we can't let George know he has this much power.
No, we cannot.
I think she already knows. Yeah.
Because George was just
But
like,
I
I
do
know
wanna-
someone who's perfect for.
I do want to kind of take a step back, though, with you, Aaron, in that it was a little bit more than that, in that there was Tomorrow's a New Day, and that I started listening to it, and then I started tweeting you on RIP Twitter, and I kind of was like, oh, I listened to the first episode. I already know who the killer is. And then you and all of the other actors in the show started tweeting back at me, like, you can't possibly know that. That's not, and like all this stuff coming at me. And I'm like, bitch, I'm going to build a fucking suspect tree. And I built one and I sent it to you in DMs. And I was like, this is who I think did it, but I was going to make it public, but I sent it because I wanted to memorialize it. And I was 50% right.
50% right. Yeah.
But that's what started sort of the back and forth with
Mhm.
Tomorrow's a New Day and sort of how all that sort of progressed, because I was so into it. I was like, oh my God, when Lewis got shot in the back of the head, I was like, oh, I know who did it. And I was all in. Should have seen me on the treadmill at the gym that morning. I was like, oh, I got it.
Everybody was saying that.
And then Scott, how did you meet all of us?
So my earphones just went off and thankfully came back on right as you said, how did you meet all of us? I could have seamlessly just answered that question without explaining, but I didn't.
Just kind of dramatic, like,
Yeah, very well, now that you mention it. But no, so since I moved to LA 15 years ago, I have never been shy about running my mouth to everyone and anyone who will listen to me how much I love soap operas and love the genre, grew up on it. And so I used to work with George at the Los Angeles LGBT Center. He was in marketing, I was in fundraising. And yeah, same thing especially over Zoom, during lockdown. We worked together during lockdown, and there's always a million and one icebreakers. And I brought up soap operas as much as I could. And I'm grateful that I did. My thinking was always, I never know who knows who. So I'm just going to run my mouth, and maybe I'll just at least get to meet somebody. But I think this is even cooler, what happened here. And 15 years of running my mouth paid off. And George thought of me when this project kind of came across his table too. And the rest is history.
Yeah. I have to also give credit to the fact that my grandmother and mom and the great-grandmother loved soaps. If it wasn't for them, I remember there was back when we had a VHS, my great-grandmother would take Days and Passions for me, and I would go over twice a week, chat with her for a few hours.
I don't know why you were ever watching Passions, but sure.
Hey, nothing wrong with Passions. Or Port Charles. The supernatural ones are fun.
But without those three women, I probably wouldn't have been into soaps. And then, strangely enough, you don't hear enough of like COVID. Yes, very, very bad. But had COVID not happened, I wouldn't have met the wonderful people I have. Because I would have still been stuck in the world of just working where I was at, hating my job. And COVID kind of it shook up the world, and a lot of bad things happened, lost a lot of lives, but silver lining.
Real quick, I want to go back to when Aaron, you and I first met Scott. George had said, "Oh, you should talk to Scott about playing a character on the show." And Quentin was a one-off character who was only in one scene, and
he didn't have a name.
Yeah, it was just a flight attendant that happened in one scene in the first episode, and after sort of meeting and talking to you, I was like, or hearing about you, I was like, oh, I have this idea. And I pitched it to Aaron first. And I was like, and so again, I had sort of pitched to Aaron very early on. I was like, you're doing Tomorrow's a New Day as a daytime soap. I want Old Cove to feel like a primetime, nighttime soap, right? That was my goal. And I was like, if I were going to do this as Nemesis, if you will, I don't want to do Alexis and Crystal because Crystal was kind of benign to me. I want Alexis to meet her, which is Harper, to meet her counterpart, which is Dominique, because Dominique didn't let Crystal get away with shit. And that's what I loved about it. And so I think that was kind of one of the first scenes that we wrote for you as a sort of a test for the two of you to go at each other how do we get these two? One's not going to get up on the other one. It will always be even, no matter what.
I think Scott auditioned with Champagne is Burnt.
The Champagne is Burnt scene, yes.
Because Rick was like, I got to hear them do this. Because we knew George could bring it. We knew what George had, but we needed someone who could meet George's level of sexy.
And you brought it in a beautiful way.
So oh yeah, when Rick said he wants
J Lee, final thoughts. What do we got?
I don't know. Put me on the spot. It's been fantastic hanging out here and talking with y'all, and winning that award was just mind blowing. I hope we go on. I mean, I think you got plans for many, many seasons. So let's see where we go with it.
I agree. All right. That's it for this episode of The Writers Room. See y'all next time. Bye.
See you next time.
Piper, no. Piper, no.